Toyota's Yaris is stepping into a segment that's dominated by stalwarts such as Maruti Suzuki Ciaz, Honda City and Hyundai's Verna. And well, it's got something up its sleeve to stand out. But before we tell you what wowed us about it, and it has, we're gonna tell you where it's missing out a bit. Nope, you can't have a diesel. And don't keep your hopes high for one. There are no plans to get one. What you do have is a 1.5 litre petrol engine. More on that later. Yes, the Yaris has presence, but it is a bit understated. The higher versions though pack some flash. Now the top two variants get LED elements in the tail lamps, like this light guide here and of course LEDs here for the stop lamps as well. So the LED DRLs are available only on the top end variant, the LED light guides on the top two variants. And the really cool part, the projector headlamps available right from base. So what's missing? I'm sure some of you would have liked to have a full LED headlamp for that extra wow factor. Just FYI, the tire size is the same as on the ETOs, which means this top-end variant is also running on 15 inches, whereas the competition offers 16s. On road, we think this will perform just fine, but the visual impact of the 16s is just that little bit more sporty, isn't it? If you look at the exterior dimensions on paper, the Yaris sits in the same ballpark as its competition. But when you look at it in the flesh, it feels a size smaller, particularly narrower. And you can feel that on the inside as well. This is best as a two-seater at the back. While the flat floor would certainly help the middle passenger, the storage box from the front eats into the knee room, so kids would be fine, not adults. And in terms of knee room, it definitely doesn't have as much as its competition. They offer more. But you can see this is adequate for somebody like me who's 5 feet 6 inches and the driver's seat set to my seating position. And at the same time, the headroom is sufficient too. And well, in terms of features, there's no sunroof on offer here. From the G variant, which is one above the base, you get a 7-inch touchscreen infotainment system here. The top-end version gets it with navigation as well, but there are a couple of misses. The screen, well, the color saturation doesn't look all that great, and in bright sunlight it is a little hard to see what's on the screen. But a bigger miss for a lot of people is likely to be the fact that there is no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay on offer. So Toyota has skimped in some areas. And finally, the pricing. Right now, while driving the car, we don't know where the prices will be, but we do understand that it will be at a slight premium to the city. So with that cleared up, let's see how the Yaris plans to make the premium tag stick. We'll start this off with safety. The Yaris packs in a lot. It's got 7 airbags as standard from the base variant, which means there's a passenger airbag, driver airbag, side airbag, curtain airbag, and for the driver, the extra 7th, the knee airbag. And that aside, the top-end variant also gets vehicle stability control, hill start assist, and you also get a low tire pressure warning system. Basically, when the tire pressure drops below 80%, the system raises a warning light. And of course, the Yaris has a reversing camera, but it also offers front and rear parking sensors. And talk about pampering the driver, you get a powered 8-way seat adjustment for the top-end variant, and even the base variant gets a mechanical seat height adjustment system. The driver's instrument cluster looks super cool. The TFT section shows the parking sensor data, the eco-driving benefits, and much more. Now the touchscreen infotainment system also has this cool functionality. It takes gestures. To activate it, you just put your palm here, hold it there for 2 seconds, this logo lights up, And then using the radio, for instance, you can scan through by just waving your hand. There you go. Or increasing the volume. That's not all. You also have touch gestures. For instance, if you want to mute, just put 3 fingers on the screen, swipe down. This just makes it really easy to use. Now this cabin certainly looks premium. You look at the dashboard, you think it's soft touch, isn't it? Especially because of these stitches. But those aren't actual stitches. That's molded into the dash. This is hard plastic. It's not soft to the touch, but very well done. And at the same time, these silver accents, they just look very well finished. And then there's the controls for the air conditioning system, which look nice in this glossy finish. And the buttons, great to use even while on the move. And if that's not enough, you look at the leather trim used on the door pad, the leather for the seats. It looks rich and it feels plush as well. These seats, they're sumptuous, well bolstered, hold you well. But one little interesting detail is this roof-mounted air conditioning system. Toyota developed this first, keeping in mind the Indian market, and then it's going to be rolled out for the other markets. It doesn't have its own independent cooling system, but what it does is the cool air that's coming from the vents in the front, it sucks it in from here. It's set to accelerate it by up to 7 times the speed and then shoots it out of this little slit over here. What's cooler still is this blade over here. It deflects the air towards either your face, your upper body, or even your legs, giving you a lot more control than you would with the vents that are usually placed low down here in the center. Honestly, the blowers at the front are strong enough to cool the cabin. But this vent just helps distribute the air better. And as if to sweeten the deal, it packs in ambient lighting as well. And to cut out the heat further, you have a rear sunshade. This glass, it's also special. It cuts out the heat so that the AC can cool the cabin better, and well, the engine is less loaded, which means better fuel efficiency. And it's also good at cutting off something else. And let me show you. Hey Tushar. One sec, what's been happening, man?
Nothing much, Karthik. It's really great to see you, man. It's fun to be on these drives with you, and especially around appraisal season. It's a great time to, get inspiration from you and, get a better idea of how it's functioning. And this car was views about it, It's really quite amazing, isn't it?
Works. And nothing like silence to enhance the sense of luxury. For India, Toyota say additional sound deadening material has been added to the roofliner as well. So, what's it like on the move? As you get going, you'll find that this is a great place to catch a nap, and part of the credit for that has to go to the suspension. But first, those 15-inch tires have tall sidewalls, which means they can soak up the rough stuff on our roads very well. Toyota's managed to strike a really nice balance in terms of the suspension setup. You've got great low-speed ride, which means in the city, you'll go over poor surfaces and barely feel anything. And at the same time, when you're on the highway, this remains very composed. You don't bob around in the backseat. Great place to spend time in. Now let's step ahead. The Yaris's 1.5-litre petrol engine is related to the Etios's, but it packs in a lot more punch. It has 107 PS of power and 140 Newton meters of torque, all thanks to variable valve timing. And it comes with a CVT transmission. Now I know CVTs have a bad rep, rubber band effect, very boring and blah, but they are very efficient, and that aside, they're constantly improving. And you drive the Yaris CVT and you'll find that it is quite responsive. To change pace, you don't need to jab the throttle. You can be gentle. We've been driving out on the highway, cruising, and even to pass a vehicle up ahead or to keep up with a faster vehicle, just dip down on the throttle gently, revs increase, You don't even hear it for the most part to about 3,500 RPM. That's where a lot of the work gets done, and calmly you get past. And it cruises beautifully. At 100 kilometers an hour, the engine is at just about 1,600 RPM. In the city, the Yaris with the CVT gearbox feels like a really cool commuter. It's smooth, quiet, and it responds well to the light throttle inputs as well, so keeping pace with traffic is fine. It's just that if you're in a tearing hurry again, yeah, just be prepared to, plan your moves a bit. It's when you mash your foot down, 4,500, 5,500 RPM, that's when you start to hear the engine clearly inside the cabin. And even then, progress is quick. Now, because you have 7 steps in the CVT, if you put it into manual mode, you can do that with paddles here on the top end variant. Otherwise, you have, of course, the gear lever here for you to toggle up and down with, and that gives you more control in terms of the pace of progress. But still, don't expect it to be super rapid. Toyota says that the Yaris, under standard test conditions with the CVT, returns 17.8 kpl, which is 0.7 kpl more than the manual variant. Oh right, the manual. The Yaris is also available with a manual transmission. It's a 6-speed gearbox, and well, before you ask, it's completely different from the one that's on the Etios. Well, we drove it briefly and it proved to be very capable. That is, drivable at low speeds and responsive when you really revved it. The gear shifts were fun. Basically, this felt like a Toyota that was fun. Yes! Okay, but we won't call it exciting. And on that note, this isn't meant to be a driver's car, and we haven't really gone through a set of corners or, curvy bits. But whatever little bit we've done, we felt that the Yaris is incredibly composed, seems to have a lot of grip, and feels confidence-inspiring. What also gives you a lot of confidence are the brakes. They just feel very crisp, very responsive, so you know just how much pressure you need to apply on the pedal to get it slowed down, no matter what speed you're coming from. And of course, getting disc brakes on the rear wheels as well on the high-end variants gives it that much more confidence and composure. Okay, one thing I'm not a big fan of is the steering. It doesn't weigh up quite as well as I would have liked. It feels a bit too heavy at times, a little too light, and not too much feel. But I don't think that's going to be a deal breaker for most people buying a Yaris. Well, with that out of the way, have we missed anything? Oh yeah, the ground clearance, it's sufficient. There are no official numbers for now. The boot is massive, but there is one annoyance. It can't be opened from the outside unless you happen to be carrying the key with you. And well, inside the cabin, the rear bottle holders on the door could have been larger, and we could have done with a few more slots to store our devices. And well, that's that. No doubt about it, the Yaris deserves a lot of credit for offering 7 airbags as standard right from the base variant, and for raising the game in terms of safety equipment on offer in this class. But that aside, it seems to be playing a little bit of a balancing act. It has a lot of segment first and wow features, but at the same time is trading out on some of the other features that the competition has to offer. And even in terms of the overall experience, it definitely feels luxurious and like a very nice sedan, mature car for you to use. But the width of the cabin, the sense of space on the inside is tighter than what the competition has to offer. Could the Yaris upset the Apple cart? Yes, it could, if it were priced aggressively, priced on par with the Honda City starting from the base variant, which could be just maybe a little bit more expensive than the equivalent Honda, and at the top end sticking close to where the Honda City is at. This could be a very good value sedan from Toyota that offers a little bit more in terms of the experience inside the cabin.